Hey there, welcome to the latest episode of the Sexy Thyroid Solution. I'm your host, Angela Brown. So today we're going to talk a little bit about hypothyroid fatigue. But first, if you could do me a really big favor, if you could go ahead and subscribe to this page, and you're going to hit the little bell so that you get a notification every single time that I have a new video released, which is typically on a Thursday. If you're watching this on Facebook or on Instagram, do me a big favor and share this video, like this, tag someone who you think would definitely benefit from this information. Let's go ahead and dive in here. So one really common thing that I hear from so many women that come to me is about fatigue, because most women that come to me, they are coming to me because of their thyroid dysfunction. Fatigue is a massive thing that can address so many different ailments, so many different things going on, but it's one that I rarely would see someone with a slow thyroid without having some type of fatigue. So I thought this would be a really good way to kind of talk about it. I want to talk about what, why do you even get it, first of all? What else can cause this kind of fatigue thing that you get with a slow thyroid, and then how you can address it. So the first and foremost is that whenever you have a slow thyroid, the reason why you get this fatigue thing is your thyroid is your master gland. So it kind of regulates everything. So it's a regulator of your metabolism. If that is really slow, it's just going to make you exhausted. The other part to also remember is that your thyroid gland also has a very massive interconnection to your adrenal glands, and your adrenal glands are your fight or flight. They're your stress responder. They're going to help you manage all these daily things that come at you. And so because of that interconnection, whenever you see this really big fatigue thing going on, a lot of times the adrenals are also part of it. So that's why you can see this big interconnection there. And it's really easy to get fatigue from that. It's very common. I see it all the time. Something else to also consider is how are you absorbing your vitamins and your minerals, your nutrients, things like that. Something that I have seen more commonly is people that cannot absorb vitamin B12. It's pretty common with hypothyroidism. I'm actually seeing it more and more. And when you see this issue where people can't absorb vitamin B12, they call it pernicious anemia. They can't absorb the B12, but B12 is something that is involved in a lot of things in your body, but one of the things that it does help with is energy. And the way you look at that actually is you look at that on blood work. You can see elevated MCV or elevated MCH. Those are two things that I kind of look at when I'm looking at blood work. If I see those elevated, you're going to have a really hard time absorbing B12, and that can also be a factor. And I see it happen very commonly when someone has thyroid issues, whether they've been diagnosed with hypothyroidism or not. If there's a slow thyroid, that's pretty common. Also, think about, are you over-exercising? It's really common when someone has a slow thyroid, they a lot of times have weight gain. And so what do? They eat less and they exercise more. And I actually just did a post recently about this. If you start over-exercising, your thyroid, if it is slow, it is going to react very poorly to it. It does not handle over-exercising well at all. So you really have to listen to your body. Are you overdoing it? If you are overdoing it, your thyroid will not like it, and it will actually fight back and make things worse. So really be careful with the amount of exercise that you're getting in. You have to watch that amount. And then if you're taking thyroid medication, I always like to go over this because I have also found that people also have this fatigue thing because their thyroid meds actually aren't working the best because they're not taking them correctly. So first and foremost, you have to take your thyroid meds right when you wake up in the morning. In fact, one little side tip that I actually do for myself, I wake up at least one time in the middle of the night. I have my thyroid meds and a little cup of water sitting right next to on my nightstand, right next to my bed. I get up and I take it. I always wake up at least one time in the middle of the night. And so when I wake up, I take my medication because that way I know no other medicine, pill, nothing else is going to disrupt that or the chance of disrupting it. So that's one option. The other option is just the minute that you wake up in the morning, you take it immediately. It has to be on an empty stomach. I usually say no food, no meds, no other supplements, nothing around it for at least a half hour. It depends on the other meds and the supplements that you're taking. If it's like calcium, iron, things like that, it has to be at least 4 hours away from your medication. So be very careful with the time. That's actually a huge factor that I am finding is kind of a factor for people having the thyroid fatigue is they're not taking their medication correctly. And then obviously the dosage, if the dosage isn't right, that can play a role. That's something that your doctor would have to handle. Also, what do your labs look like? If your TSH number is above a 2, you're going to have thyroid fatigue more than likely. I hate lab reference ranges. I don't agree with them. I think anything above a 2 is a slow thyroid, and you're going to have fatigue and all the other symptoms that come along with it. I don't like TSH that high. I like to see it between a 1 and a 2. Personally, for me, I have to have mine under a 1. Mine needs to be about a 0.8, and I do great at that. But anything above a 2, I'm always going to see thyroid fatigue, very commonly. So what do you do about this? Answer me this first. Do you suffer from thyroid fatigue? Do you have this common fatigue thing going on, and you know that it probably is because your thyroid is slow? Give me a shout out, because I'd love to know. That would help me a lot too. So first and foremost, the big thing that you need to do, you have to get a full thyroid panel. I would always want a full thyroid panel with TSH, reverse T3, free T4, and your thyroid antibodies. But the big one is that TSH number. I don't like it elevated, and I talked about this already. Do not like it elevated. So that's going to be a big one to help with your fatigue. And then even looking at your minerals and your metals, because that's what I do hair tissue testing. It's in my right off the bat, one of my very first modules, I think it's module 2 or 3 in my thyroid program. I do it on everyone in my program because those play a massive role in how you're absorbing your minerals, how you're moving metals. If you have metals present, that can cause a lot of thyroid fatigue if that's not addressed. And then you need to understand your symptoms. You need to understand the difference between, is this thyroid fatigue, or is this just because I'm stressed out with work? Things are crazy with virtual stuff. Kids are doing virtual schooling and things are just kind of stressful. Is it fatigue from not sleeping, things like that? Or is it fatigue because your thyroid just is sluggish and bottomed out? So kind of start understanding your symptoms, because that actually does help when you start addressing it. And then obviously getting the right labs done and interpreting them, having them interpreted correctly. I can help with that. I love interpreting blood panels when it comes to thyroid, because again, I don't agree with the lab reference ranges. That is not functional for most people. They don't feel good at that. So that's a really big one, is to make sure that you're getting those interpreted correctly so that you can see, am I on the right dosage of meds, or do I need to be on meds? Because that will help your fatigue as well. So let me know if you have any questions. I would absolutely love to help you out if you have any questions. Again, do me a huge favor. Subscribe to my page, hit the little bell so you get a notification every time I release a video. And then if you're watching this on Instagram or on Facebook, share this, like this, take someone who would benefit from this information, because that always helps me as well. And again, if you have questions, give me a shout out. I do have my free guide going as well. If you would like the free guide, you can click below. There's a link so that you can get my free guide that's running right now. And we will be chatting soon. Have an amazing day. Bye.